Today, we're going on a safari with Vogue France, dog walking with Vogue Hong Kong, and riding unicorns with Vogue España. My name is Marco, welcome to the Model Gene, and if you're ready to dissect this month's covers, hit that like button and let's get started on August's Battle of the Covers. Starting off with Vogue US, we have Anne Hathaway by Annie Leibovitz. The cover isn't terrible. Leibovitz loves a murky green skin tone in her images, but the color grading isn't out of control here. The fabric on this top doesn't sit on the body very nicely. You can see in this area how uneven it is, not wrinkled but still bubbling. Her hair looks nice, but there's nothing making this image pop. It is bland and forgettable. For the rest of the editorial, there is an inconsistency in the color grading. Very blue and cyan on part of this image, but the famous John Singer Sargent portrait of Madame X is green and yellow toned. The rest of the images are consistent within themselves, but not as a collection. It is like Leibovitz couldn't decide on a direction, so she tried a different color story for each look. This image looks the most natural. I like the warmness in her skin and face, but this photo is just awful. I know that Anne Hathaway was in fact at this location posing for this image, but when there is so much editing, it looks like she was shot in studio and poorly placed in this outdoor scene. As much as I loved her early work, I look at photos like this from Leibovitz and recoil in disgust. Dochi covers British Vogue, photographed by Elisaveta Borodina. The image is vibrant and engaging. Her body shape is fantastic, the lighting on her face is great. The only thing I don't love is how they cropped out her hands. The hands can be as expressive as the face. I always think back of these portraits of Miles Davis by Irving Penn, so the image could have told a more complete story if we could see the continuation of her silhouette. The rest of the editorial has some really fun images, beautiful movement throughout, and interesting colors, with this being my favorite of the images. The blue and red combo is beautiful. I love the lighting. The image is seductive and indulgent. Justin Bieber's Wife covers Vogue Italia, a reprint from the Vogue US story for June. It is hard to look past the lip filler, but compositionally, the cover works. I don't love the sunglasses on a cover, but it is a fine, basic, boring, mediocre cover from a magazine that used to be known for its commitment to pushing the boundaries of fashion photography. Anok Yai covers Vogue France, a great cover by Mario Sorrenti. The clashing of the shiny leopard print top with the silky red skirt is unexpected, very visually compelling. Her pose is stoic, but the highlights on the clothes provide the movement. The editorial is just as cool. I'm sure this was a cover option as well, so punchy and striking. This is a good month for Vogue France. M. Stenberg, Tatiana Perry, and Natalia Hickling cover Vogue Australia. I love this cover of them. Yes, it is about time they highlighted these First Nations models instead of random American and European celebrities and Nepo models, but that is not the only reason why this is a good cover. We have cohesion in clothes, all black and white, but different textures and silhouettes. The hair and makeup is soft and beautiful, and the way their bodies are posed with each other is great. I would have preferred something more colorful for their looks on a cover, but overall it's a great success for the magazine that misses more often than it hits. Margot Robbie covers Harper's Bazaar France, a pretty portrait, but the frog is throwing me off. Not just in the cover, but in the editorial as well. We have frogs making an appearance, but why? Focusing on the cover, this tree frog has vibrant colors that don't match the feeling or palette of what she is wearing. If this cover was taken with her showing more skin, moist and glistening with a bright bikini, it would have made more sense than what we have here. She looks beautiful in the photos, but the story being told is confusing. Bibi Breslin covers Vogue España. I'm not the biggest fan of this cover. When you look at the overall composition, most of the elements are very light. Her coat, the sky, the sand, the unicorn boat, so your eye is directed to the darkest elements, the black boots and her bikini bottoms. Those black elements are not interesting, so it is a shame that your eye is being pulled to someplace that doesn't deliver. Looking at the other images from the editorial, the one they selected would be at the bottom of my list for cover options. In the other image with the unicorn, we see more of these Alaïa boots. Here, they are cool enough to substantiate them as a focal point. The portrait is beautiful, but my favorite of these images is this one of the newspaper dress. The volumes are the most interesting, there is movement and a story, but let me know in the comments what you think about this editorial and cover. Isla Fisher covers Harper's Bazaar Australia, and what in the 1990s Hallmark movie / magazine in your dentist office is going on here? Flat, flat, flat. All I see when I look at this image is how flat everything is. This is the worst cover of the month. The reason for putting a redhead in blue is for the contrast, but they sucked all the life and color out of the image. If I punch up the contrast in reds, the photo is already significantly improved, but even like this, there is still a lot that would make me choose a different photo for the cover. This three-quarter profile angle doesn't work well when her raised arm is covering half of her head. The result is that her facial dimensions look distorted. That claw in her hair also isn't helping. This is one of the rare occasions when Vogue Australia has a better cover than Harper's Bazaar. Alex Pinzani covers Vogue Japan. I'm really perplexed by the choice to have her retouched with this warm light, but the background is entirely cool-toned. I would much rather see her integrated into the scene, either where she is more blue or the background gets warmed up. Let me know in the comments what you prefer, the original, cool-toned, or warm-toned. Rosé covers Vogue Korea. I can't say I'm a huge fan of any of the images. I think this cover had the most potential, but she is not emoting with the right energy for this look. Her tongue is sticking out, but it looks very unnatural. Her expression is completely vacant. This should be full, naughty personality, much more of a punk sexiness than what is being shown. Why do we have one glove missing in this cover? In this cover, her hand has a lot more texture than her face, making it look like an old lady hand in comparison to her smooth face. The hair extensions took over here. This entire section looks disconnected from the rest of the hair. There is too much heaviness with this fur piece and all that hair. Kristen McMenemy covers W Magazine Korea. I love this cover of her, and it is my favorite cover of the month. She is channeling Jean Patchett's British Vogue cover from June 1950 by Irving Penn, reinvented in a modern way. I don't love when photographers shoot in studio but show C-stands and lights, but thankfully here it isn't too distracting. The shapes she is making is highlighted by the pinstripes in the clothes. This is beautiful and intentional fashion imagery. The other two covers are fine, but they don't have the same impact as the full body shot. Miley Cyrus covers Perfect Magazine, and good luck finding a photo with her mouth closed. This is my favorite of the images. It is moody and mysterious. I would have skipped the other ones and just had this for the cover. When magazine use multiple covers for an issue, especially with the same subject, the overall impression can be much weaker than if they just made one good selection, as is the case here. Irina Shayk covers Vogue Brazil. I love the composition of this cover. The weight distribution here is very atypical for a cover. It is such a breath of fresh air when you see a cover that you didn't expect. The second cover, less surprising, but my real complaint is with the casting of Irina Shayk. This entire year, they are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Vogue Brazil. They should have been able to do 12 months of covers with Brazilian models. Emily Blunt covers Vogue Hong Kong, and I love how camp and lighthearted these covers and the editorial are. Yes, I think it's a bit early for them to start with the Devil Wears Prada covers when they are still filming the sequel, but it is nice to have something to smile about with an extended press tour. Her looks are over the top, the supporting characters are doing too much, but sometimes too much is the perfect amount, and I'd rather look at something intentionally fun rather than the same old boring, safe fashion imagery. For Vogue China's two covers by Kulesza and Peak, there is a lot to enjoy from the images, but I'm still underwhelmed. They have two covers, but the same models in the same looks for both. That choice is very strange for me. For the positives, they did do a great job with the casting. The textures and the colors of the garments all work well together, but I can't help to see a campaign image rather than a fashion editorial when I look at this. Everything is so conservative, the lighting is pleasant but a bit too passive. There isn't enough energy or interest being inserted into the images. The Eiffel Tower in the background here feels too cliche. So overall, the covers are fine and inoffensive, but lacking a bit of magic to make them impactful. Sarocha Changkima covers Vogue Thailand. My biggest problem with this cover is the red top against the red background. At this crop, we don't see enough of her body to establish her silhouette, so it would read better if the top was a different color, separating her from the background. With that being said, her face is beautiful. I like the tones of the makeup here, and the natural curls to her hair is very pretty. And that is where today's review is going to end. But for more about the fashion industry, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the covers this month, and be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the battle of the covers.